Ever notice how some people are irreplaceable while others are forgotten the moment they leave? How some people have others terrified of losing them, while the rest can barely get a text back? How some people's absence creates a void while others' absence creates relief? So what makes the difference? What do they have that makes losing them unthinkable? I am about to reveal the psychology of becoming so valuable that people fear your absence more than they appreciate your presence. This isn't about manipulation. It is about transformation, becoming someone whose loss would be devastating rather than someone whose departure would go unnoticed. You are always available and they barely notice you. You do everything for them and they expect more. You stay loyal while they keep their options open. You prioritize them while they make you an afterthought. You pour in effort while they couldn't care less. You know what is really happening. You've made yourself too safe to value. But here is what is going to change everything. The people who are feared to lose operate on completely different principles than you've been taught. They understand that human psychology values what it might lose far more than what it safely has. And they've structured their entire presence around this truth. What if I told you that being more available makes you less valued? That doing more for people often makes them appreciate you less? That the security you provide is the very thing that makes you ignorable? That the path to being feared to lose runs directly through everything you've been doing wrong? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why people take you for granted and how to reverse it. The psychological principles that make some people irreplaceable. And most importantly, how to transform yourself into someone whose loss people genuinely fear. Are you ready to become unforgettable? Drop this affirmation in the comments. They will fear losing me. Principle number 1. Scarcity creates value automatically. Here is the foundational truth that changes everything. Human psychology is wired to value scarce things and dismiss abundant ones. This isn't a choice people make consciously. It is built into our neural architecture, and it applies to you just as much as it applies to diamonds or gold. When you are always available, you are abundant. When you are always there, you are common. When you can always be counted on to show up, respond, and deliver, you become furniture. Not disliked, just unnoticed. Part of the background, something people would only miss if it suddenly wasn't there. And even then, they'd adjust. But when your presence becomes selective, something shifts. When you are not always available, each appearance carries more weight. When you don't always respond immediately, each response becomes more valued. When your attention becomes scarce, everyone wants more of it. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He wrote, "Men are so simple and yield so readily to the desires of the moment that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked." The trick here isn't deception. It is understanding that abundance breeds contempt, while scarcity breeds desire. Here is how to apply this. Stop being constantly available. Don't respond to every message immediately. Don't accept every invitation. Don't always be the one who reaches out first. Create space in your presence that makes your presence valuable. Not through games, but through genuinely having a full life that doesn't revolve around any single person. The key is that the scarcity must be real, not performed. Fake unavailability is obvious and pathetic. Real unavailability because you have a life that demands your attention is magnetic. Build the life first, and the scarcity follows naturally. When people have to work for your attention, they value it. When they have to schedule around your availability, they appreciate your time. When they experience your absence, they remember your presence. This isn't manipulation. It is the fundamental psychology of value. There is a common objection to this principle. But won't people think I don't care? Here is the truth. People don't want someone who cares so much they're always available. They want someone who cares appropriately while having a full enough life to not be constantly present. The person who is always available communicates that they have nothing better to do. The person who is selectively available communicates that their time with you is chosen over other options. Think about the economics. When supply is unlimited, price drops to zero. When supply is limited, price rises. Your presence is supply. When it is unlimited, its value is zero. When it is limited, its value rises. This isn't cruel. It is how value works in every domain, including relationships. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My presence is scarce and valuable. Principle number 2. Be excellent at something that matters. Scarcity alone isn't enough. You can be scarce and worthless. A rare rock is still just a rock, to be feared to lose. You must be scarce and valuable. This means being genuinely excellent at something that matters to the people you want to value you. Think about the people whose loss would devastate any organization. They're not just present, they're excellent. They do something important better than anyone else available could. Their excellence creates dependency, not emotional dependency, but functional dependency. Things work better when they're there. Things break when they're not. The same applies to personal relationships. The partner whose loss is feared isn't just present and pleasant. They bring something irreplaceable. Maybe it is how they make the other person feel. Maybe it is the depth of connection they create. Maybe it is the growth they inspire. Whatever it is something that couldn't easily be found elsewhere. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. But when you are excellent, what you appear to be and what you really are converge. Your value becomes undeniable. It is not about perception management. It is about actual value creation. Here is how to build this. Identify what you could become world-class at that would matter to the people whose respect you want. Then invest thousands of hours becoming genuinely excellent at it. Not good, not above average, excellent. The kind of excellent that makes you the obvious choice. The kind of excellent that makes your departure catastrophic. This takes time. There is no shortcut to genuine excellence. But the investment compounds. Every hour of skill building increases your irreplaceability. Every level of improvement makes your loss more unthinkable. You are not just building a skill. You are building leverage that lasts a lifetime. The beautiful thing about genuine excellence is that you don't have to remind people of it. They experience it every interaction. They compare you to alternatives and find the alternatives lacking. Your value asserts itself without you having to assert it. Excellence speaks. Here is the uncomfortable truth about excellence. Most people aren't willing to put in the work required. They want to be irreplaceable while being mediocre. They want to be feared to lose while being easily replaced. This doesn't work. The market for mediocre is crowded. The market for excellent is nearly empty. Think about what you could be excellent at. That would matter. In work, what skill would make you the obvious choice? In relationships, what quality would make you the partner others dream of? In friendship, what would make your loss genuinely devastating? Find it, then pursue it relentlessly. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am excellent at what matters. Principle number 3. Be willing to actually walk away. Here is where most people fail. They want to be feared to lose, but they would never actually leave. They want the power of potential departure without the reality of it. But people can sense this. They know when your threats are empty. They know when your independence is performed. The fear of losing you can only exist if losing you is a genuine possibility. Not a manipulation tactic, not a bluff. An actual option you are prepared to exercise. When people sense that you would really leave, everything changes. When they sense you are bluffing, they call your bluff. This requires building a life where you don't need any single person or situation, where your happiness isn't dependent on this relationship, or this job, or this friendship, where you have options, where walking away would hurt, but it wouldn't destroy you. Machiavelli understood the power of the walk away position. He wrote, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise." The modern translation is that a person who can legitimately leave has power. Their commitment is a choice renewed daily, not a prison sentence. Here is how to build genuine walk away power. First, develop financial independence. Money isn't everything, but financial desperation removes options. Second, cultivate multiple meaningful relationships. Don't put all your emotional eggs in one basket. Third, build skills that are valuable elsewhere. Your current situation shouldn't be your only option. Fourth, and most important, do the internal work to genuinely be okay alone. Many people can't walk away because they can't face solitude. They'd rather be taken for granted than be alone. This fear gives all their power to others. Defeating this fear gives all the power back to you. When you can actually leave, you don't need to threaten to leave. The possibility radiates from you silently. People sense it in how you carry yourself, in how you respond to disrespect, in how little you try to convince anyone of anything. Your walk-away power speaks without words. There is a paradox here. The more willing you are to leave, the less likely you are to have to. When people sense you can walk, they work harder to make you want to stay. When they sense you are trapped, they stop trying. Your freedom creates their effort. Building walk away power isn't about creating drama or threatening constantly. It is about genuinely being okay with any outcome. This inner freedom is the most attractive quality you can develop. People want to be around those who choose them, not those who need them. The test is simple. If this relationship or job or friendship ended tomorrow, would you be devastated for years, or would you hurt and then rebuild? The former has no walk away power. The latter has all of it. Build a self that can survive and thrive regardless of any single external circumstance. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I can always walk away. Principle number 4. Let them experience your absence. Theory isn't enough. People need to actually experience what losing you would feel like. Small doses of your absence create appreciation your constant presence never could. This isn't about playing games. It is about letting reality teach the lesson. When you are always there, people have no baseline for what your absence would feel like. They take your contributions for granted because they've never experienced their absence. They assume you'll always be there because you always have been. Your consistency becomes invisibility. But when you are occasionally absent, when you take the trip without them, when you skip the event they expected you at, when you are not available for the usual call, something shifts. They notice the void. They feel what is missing. They remember what you provide when you are not providing it. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." When you are always present, people see you but don't feel your value. When you are occasionally absent, they feel the lack of what they could only see before. Here is how to implement this. Take real breaks from people who take you for granted. Not announced dramatic absences, just natural unavailability. Be legitimately busy. Take the solo trip, spend time with other friends, invest in your own interests. Let them wonder where you are and what you are doing. The key is that your absence must be filled with your own life, not with longing for them. If you are absent but desperately checking if they've noticed, you've lost the game. If you are absent and genuinely living your life, the absence becomes powerful. They're thinking about you while you are not thinking about them. That is the reversal. Don't overdo this. Constant absence isn't powerful. It is just abandonment. Strategic, occasional absence that is filled with genuine living creates the contrast that makes your presence valuable. They miss you, you return, and the cycle of appreciation begins. Here is a specific technique. When you notice you are being taken for granted, don't announce it or complain about it. Just become slightly less available. Not dramatically, just noticeably. They'll feel the shift even if they can't name it. The absence creates the awareness the presence couldn't. The goal isn't to punish through absence. It is to let reality teach. Your constant presence was teaching them you'd always be there. Your occasional absence teaches them that you are choosing to be there and could choose otherwise. Both lessons are true. Both need to be learned. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence teaches my value. Principle number 5. Stop proving your value and start demonstrating it. There is a crucial difference between proving your value and demonstrating it. Proving implies desperation. It says, I need you to see this. Please acknowledge me. Demonstrating simply shows. It lets results speak. It creates value without begging for recognition of that value. When you prove, you highlight. When you demonstrate, you embody. When you prove, you talk about value. When you demonstrate, you create it. The prover is always explaining why they matter. The demonstrator simply matters. And everyone can see it. Think about the people you most fear losing. Do they constantly remind you of their value? Or does their value simply radiate from who they are and what they do? The people we most value don't have to tell us they're valuable. We experience it directly. Machiavelli observed, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." You don't become valuable by claiming value. You become valuable by being valuable. The claim without the reality is worse than nothing. It highlights the gap between assertion and truth. Here is how to shift from proving to demonstrating. First, stop talking about your contributions. Let them speak for themselves. If they don't speak loudly enough without you narrating, they're not big enough contributions. Make bigger ones. Second, create value before asking for recognition. The person who gives before they take creates positive imbalance. The person who takes before they give creates resistance. Be the one who consistently deposits before attempting any withdrawal. Third, let others discover your absence rather than threatening it. Don't say, if I left, you'd be lost. Just occasionally not be there and let them discover the loss themselves. Self-discovered lessons are the only lessons that stick. Your narration weakens the impact. The shift from proving to demonstrating is the shift from begging for value recognition to simply being valuable. One creates resistance. The other creates magnetic pull. One makes you seem desperate. The other makes you seem irreplaceable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I demonstrate, I don't prove. Principle number 6. Maintain mystery and depth. People don't fear losing what they fully understand. Complete transparency makes you predictable. Predictability makes you safe. Safe means you are not going anywhere and don't need attention. Mystery creates the sense that there is more to discover. Depth creates the fear that losing you means losing access to unexplored territory. When people feel they know everything about you, they stop being curious. When they've explored all of you, the adventure ends. When there are no more surprises, there is no more discovery. But when you maintain mystery, when there is always more to learn, when each layer reveals another, you become endlessly fascinating. This doesn't mean being fake or hiding your true self. It means not dumping your entire history, psychology, and inner world on people immediately. It means revealing yourself gradually, like chapters of a book. It means maintaining private spaces in your life that belong only to you. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This isn't about deception. It is about the natural reality that your inner world is vast and shouldn't be given away cheaply. Those who earn deeper access should discover deeper layers. Those who haven't earned it should sense there is more without receiving it. Here is how to maintain mystery and depth. First, don't volunteer everything about yourself. Share when asked. And even then, not always completely. Leave some doors closed. Leave some stories for later. Leave some aspects for them to wonder about. Second, keep developing new dimensions. Never stop learning, growing, exploring. The person who stays the same becomes boring. The person who continuously evolves always has something new to discover. Your depth should be genuine, not performed. Third, have a rich inner life that doesn't depend on others. Read, think, create, dream, process life independently. People with rich inner lives are fascinating because there is always more going on than what is visible. People without inner lives are transparent and therefore uninteresting. The fear of losing you includes the fear of losing access to your depths. If people feel they've already seen everything, there is nothing left to lose. If they sense unexplored territory, losing you means losing that discovery forever. Mystery creates stakes. Think about the most fascinating people you've encountered. They weren't the ones who told you everything immediately. They were the ones who revealed layers over time, each layer more interesting than the last. They were the ones where you always felt there was more to discover. The balance is important. Too much mystery becomes evasiveness. Too little becomes boring transparency. The goal is appropriate revelation over time, creating the sense that getting to know you is an ongoing journey rather than a completed transaction. Never stop developing new dimensions. The person who was interesting 5 years ago and hasn't grown since has depleted their mystery. The person who continues to evolve always has new territory to explore. Your growth feeds your depth, which feeds your mystery, which creates fear of losing access. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I maintain depth and mystery. Now let's see what happens when you embody all 6 principles. Scarcity, excellence. Walk, away power. Strategic absence. Demonstration over proof. Mystery and depth combined. They transform you from someone easily forgotten to someone impossible to replace. First, people start treating you differently, not because you've demanded it, but because they sense your value and want to preserve access to it. They return calls faster. They accommodate your schedule. They consider your preferences. The treatment shifts automatically. Second, power dynamics reverse. You are no longer chasing. You are being pursued. You are no longer convincing. You are being courted. You are no longer hoping. You are choosing. The fundamental dynamic of your relationships transforms because the fundamental value equation has changed. Third, your own self-perception elevates. You start to see yourself as someone worth valuing because others clearly value you. This isn't ego. It is accurate self-assessment. You've built something valuable. You've become someone irreplaceable. Seeing yourself this way reinforces the behaviors that created it. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool eventually learns through painful experience that being taken for granted is the price of being too available, too predictable, too safe. The wise person implements these principles from the start. If you've made it this far, you understand something most people never grasp. Being feared to lose isn't about manipulation or games. It is about genuinely becoming someone whose loss would be devastating. It is about building real value and then letting that value speak. The 6 principles work because they're building real things, real scarcity through a full life, real excellence through dedicated practice, real walk, away power through genuine independence, real appreciation through authentic absence, real value through demonstration rather than claims, real depth through continuous growth. If this video showed you how to become impossible to replace, smash that like button. If you know someone who has been taken for granted and needs this message, share it with them. And if you want more content on building genuine power in your life and relationships, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Starting today, begin building the life that makes you scarce. Start developing the excellence that makes you valuable. Start creating the independence that makes walking away possible. Start living fully enough that your absence is real. Start demonstrating instead of proving. Start cultivating the depth that makes you endlessly fascinating. This isn't a quick fix. Becoming someone people fear to lose takes time. But every day you invest in these principles, you move further from forgettable and closer to irreplaceable. Every choice aligned with these principles shifts the value equation in your favor. Now drop this final affirmation in the comments. They fear losing me, because in a world full of people desperate not to be abandoned, the person whose loss others fear holds all the power. Be that person, build that value, and watch how everything changes when you finally become someone the world can't afford to lose.